Hello guys, my name is Desmond. A very warm welcome to my lesson for today, where we will be looking at your mathematics. I notice I've written mathematics. Let's see. Mathematics is what we will be looking at in today's lesson. So ladies and gentlemen, please do allow me to say it is very much important that I say it is very, very much important because a day without learning something new, it's a day wasted. By so saying, honorable members, please do make sure that by the end of each and every lesson that I conduct, you learn something new. Very, very much important, ladies and gentlemen, over there. So, in today's lesson, we are not going to waste much of our precious time. I notice I've got limited power on my side. So, just make sure that in case if you do not understand anything, you let me know immediately. Do not allow me to continue without you fully understanding whatever that I'll be explaining. So, question number 3 is what we will be looking at in today's lesson. Remember, guys, we are still on analytical geometry, where I've emphasized to say analytical geometry is a game of two things. So just always remember that whatever that we will be doing, it's in most cases where you need two things to answer the questions. So this is what I'm going to do in today's lesson. I'm going to read through the given statement, quickly take you through that, and then from there we start answering the questions. So last confirmation, can you guys clearly hear me and can you clearly see over there?
Yes, sir.
Okay, 100%. So the statement reads as follows. In the diagram, A, where is A? Oh, there's A. It has the coordinates 6 and -2. Yes, this point makes sense. Let's see. B being that there is B having 2 and 15. Why am I saying it makes sense? Because it's in the first quadrant where X is positive, Y is 15. And then we've got C. Where is C? There is C having -4 and 3. Answer them are answers. Remember to mute your mic, honorable member. So,
Yes, sir.
Let's see. We know that is C and it makes sense. So they say A, B, C having those points are the vertices of triangle A, B, and C. So when something is written like that, it means triangle A, B, C. So the statement says M is the midpoint of AB. M is the midpoint of AB. There is M. Okay, makes sense. N is a point on CA. There is N. And they just say is a point on CA. Where is C? Oh, there is CA. AC. There's CA. Okay, that's a point such that MON, where is MON? Oh, there is MON. Oh, this is how they write. They say MON parallel to PC. Where is PC? There's, oh, yes. That makes sense. So very quickly, I would like to actually explain or indicate to you guys that whatever that I've just read, it's actually a representation of this, you will realize that you do have point A, B, and C having those points. In addition to that, you realize A, B, C form a triangle. And then let's see, M, there is M, is the midpoint between A and B. How do you know it's the midpoint? You can see these two, they're actually saying from B to M is equals to from M to A in terms of lengths or distances. In addition to that, you can see that sign. It tells you that this line and that line, they are actually parallel to each other. And obviously, we've got the y and the x-axis, with that point being the origin. So that's all that I can explain with regards to that diagram. But I'm pretty much sure that all of you guys fully understand that, because we have done a lot of interpretation on given diagrams. So I think without any waste of time, let's start answering those questions. Maybe let me do this, just in case some of you don't have multiple devices to read and watch on the other device. Let me do this and bring the... So can you guys see? The first question says, determine the coordinates of M, the midpoint of AB. So this one, I'm going to give it to you guys to calculate on your side, and you let me know what the answer is. So it is during this time where those easy questions, I'll just give them to you. And most importantly, remember that on Saturday, you'll be writing a test on analytical geometry, which means starting from next week, we are therefore starting a new chapter, possibly let me not mention, but I will indicate before the start of next week regarding which chapter we'll be starting with. So the midpoint of M, what is that? I'm going to give you 2 marks if you get it correctly.
Sir, I got 4 and 13 over 2.
4, 13 over 2. Okay. The other honorable members of the opposition party, what are you guys getting?
The same.
I also get the same
I
thing.
got the same thing.
Hey, Dizoti. Leslie, them are Leslie's. Can you see they kept quiet until someone gives an answer? Angazi ukuthi uyababona na labantu la. Was it you, the Leslie's, who gave an answer? I thought it was Leslie. Okay. Let's see. Anyone who's getting a different answer or do not understand where that comes from, make sure that you raise your hand, and we'll just choose honorable member to just explain. But I'm telling you, that's how you score yourself 2 marks on that question. So 3.2, determine the gradient of line MN. Also work it out from your side, and I'll just be waiting for an answer. M and the gradient of M n, gradient of M n. So remember, guys, after you've calculated and you got an answer, don't give an answer, just mention your name and I will recognize you, honorable member. Don't give an answer, but just mention your name and I will recognize you. Today, lizosebenza abantu bakithi. Namhlanje nizoyenza yonke into. Ngizobe ngila. Ngizobe ngila nathi. Remember, guys, during exam time, you are not given time to think, but you are given time to write. So just make sure that you try to work out things as quick as possible. Anyone who's got an answer, or is it difficult?
I think I think I got it because the Mulebukh.
Hey,
answer two.
I almost called security to remove honorable member out of parliament. I was very close. I see, Asa, did you also mention your name, honorable member?
Wait, sir.
I'm
saying the answer is 2, sir.
No. Asa, you don't give an answer, but you mention your name. I will forgive you on that. I won't call security to remove you out of parliament. I realize you are one of our new learners. So next time, remember, it's just for me to be able to choose when you give your names. So, Moleboge, what answer are you getting, honorable member? Are you also getting 2 or a different answer?
Yes, I got positive 2.
But iphuma pile your positive 2. Where is it coming from? Because M and N, we only have 1 point there, and we must be having 2 points to calculate the gradient. How did you guys?
What I did was BC is parallel to MN, isn't it? I've calculated the gradient of BC, which is equivalent to 2, and because they are parallel, then their gradients are equal.
Hey, you have a point there. Asa, is that the same understanding that you are having, honorable member?
Yes, sir.
100%. So, as a mathematician, this is how you are going to write it. You're going to say the gradient of BC is equals to the gradient of MN. And then from there, that's when you can substitute to say, let's say y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And then let's say y2 there is 15 minus 3 over 2 minus into negative 4. What is this? I think this gives you 12, and then this gives you 6. So that means 12 divided by 6 is equals to 2. I'm telling you guys, with you doing that, I'm going to give you 3 marks for that. So I'm not sure. Does it make sense to everyone? Can you guys see that this chapter, analytical geometry, it's not really that much complicated or difficult, Bantu Pakiti. You just need to know all that we discussed when we did our introduction. It's either they want you to calculate the midpoint, distance, or gradient. Also, they might want you to determine an equation of a straight line. In addition to that, they might say calculate an angle of inclination or somehow involve a question that has an angle. In addition to that, that's where they want you to apply your understanding on quadrilateral, where they might somehow involve a rectangle, a triangle, a square, or whatever. And most importantly, somehow they will then include lines which may be parallel or perpendicular to each other, which means for parallel lines, you know they've got equal gradients. For perpendicular lines, when you multiply the gradient of line 1 and line 2, they are equals to -1, which is a formula. So it is as easy as that, and it's limited to those questions in most cases. And you might not believe that this was a November exam paper. Imagine having such simple questions in your final exam. So just make sure, Bantu Bakiti, that when you prepare for this chapter, you just go through all the lessons that we did under analytical geometry. I'm telling you guys, you will get maximum marks out of this question. So let's see, just in case if this did not make sense, make sure to let me know. And it seems like today's lesson will be very, very quick based on the fact that these questions might be easy, especially that we have done a lot of these type of questions previously. So hence or otherwise, determine the equation of line mn in the form y is equals to mx plus c. And this question is allocated only 2 marks. I'm not sure. Anyone who would like to explain how do we work out this question, just mention your name and I will recognize you, honorable member. Moleboge's name. Okay, Moleboge, go for it, honorable member.
Okay. Remember we already have our gradient of mn, which is equals to 2. So we are going to say y is equals to 2x plus c.
Let's see, maybe let me say they want it in that form. So you're saying I'm going to say y is equals to 2x plus c.
Then we are given a point, we have a midpoint there at m. So we'll use the point m. So we'll then substitute. We are going to say our y is 13 over 2. And then we'll say our 2 will be multiplied by 4. And then plus c. Then we are going to have 8 there, and then we transpose it. We're going to get -8. Then when we do all of them, we are going to get -3 over 2, which is our c.
-3 over 2, which is our c.
Yes. Then we will say y. Then we'll say y is equals to 2x minus 3 over 2.
Okay, this is now your final answer. But you tell me, what gives you the confidence that possibly this answer could be correct? What indicators are you having?
Am I happy? Yes, I think I'm okay with the answer that is there now.
Okay, but now, let's say, what makes you to be confident that possibly this is correct?
Because anyway, the line that we are having there, it's passing from the first quadrant to the third quadrant.
Yes. So that is
the
confirmed
first to
by the gradient.
Yes.
Maybe let me add on to that. So regarding C, you can see that if you had to extend that, can you see it actually cuts the y-axis on the negative side? So that's why you are having a negative c value there, which is another indication that possibly this is the correct equation of that line. Does it make sense to everyone? I think everyone agrees with you on that one, Moleboge. I'm not sure. Honorable members, does it make sense to everyone? Or is there someone who is a bit lost on that one?
So I'm kind of lost, sir.
Okay, let me try to re-explain. It's Asa speaking. I think Asa is attending my lesson for the very first time today. But Asa, this is what I'm going to say before I re-explain, honorable member. So, whatever that Moleboge was talking about there, that information is based on our very first lesson on this chapter. So just make sure that as soon as this lesson is done, send me an inbox and I'll send you a link to a homepage. I'll actually send it in the group when the lesson is done. Click on that link. It will take you to homepage where you will have access to all recorded lessons and you'll be able to catch up. So remember, the question says hence. The word hence, it reminds you that you might need to refer to the previous answer. And then they are saying or otherwise, which means based on whatever knowledge that you have or other possible ways. Determine the equation of line MN in the form y is equals to mx plus c. Remember, analytical geometry, a game of two things. So that means you need to be having two things about that line. You guys confirmed to say the midpoint is that. That means this is the first thing that we know about that line. The second thing is that the gradient of this line, you guys said, is 2. And it means this also is 2. So can you see? You already have y is equals to 2x plus c. Then you need 1 point on that line. If you use this point, it means the equation that you're going to get is for that line. If you use this point, for example, it means the equation that you're going to get is for that line. If you use this point, it means the equation that you're going to get is for that line. Why? Because the point that you are using is on that line. So in this case, if you use that point, which is point M, which is on that line, that means the equation is going to be for that line. I'm not sure, Asa, if it now makes sense, honorable member. I'm sure you understand the calculation. You just needed clarity. Am I correct in saying that? Do you now understand it?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay. Is it everyone who understands before we move on to 3.4?
Sir.
100%. So now, let's see. I'm just not sure if we might need that equation, but maybe let me try to rewrite that equation. So it was y is equals to 2x. What was it? I think it was minus 3 over 2. Yes. Let's just leave it at that. And then now, let's move on to 3.4. So let's see. 3.4, it says calculate with a reason the coordinates of point N. So that means they actually want a the coordinates of point N. And this question is allocated 4 marks. Jesus. Maybe a moment of silence as we quickly think about that one. But anyone who'd like to give it a try, guys, the coordinates of point N. Hey, Moleboge, it seems like you are enjoying this chapter, honorable member. And but wait, Moleboge, can you just confirm to everyone that it helps to just attend any of my maths lesson, regardless of the grade? Does it work for you? Because I know you are one of those who just attend regardless.
Attending your any class that you are doing, it makes it easy. You see how I'm answering, it's because I now understand that I'm benefiting from answering anything, be it grade 10 or grade 11 or grade 12. It's helpful.
So this is an indication that you don't need to choose Bantu Pakiti. Maths is maths, whether grade 10, 11 or 12, especially when you are doing those common chapters. There are chapters which are common, and that includes this chapter. I can tell you now, Bantu Pakiti, these questions, they actually ask the same questions but differently. So, with you understanding that lines, when they are parallel, they have equal gradients, diagonals, angles, and whatever. I'm telling you guys, it makes it easy. So, Moleboge, while we are still on this point, let me make use of this opportunity to indicate that that was the strategy that I used for me to get distinctions, Moleboge. For example, now we are doing analytical geometry. When I was in grade 12, I didn't only do grade 12 question papers. I started from grade 10. Then I did as many questions as possible in grade 10 for analytical geometry. Then I went to 11. Then I realized I'm able to also answer those. But obviously, I needed to have a memo. Then I went to grade 12 questions. I'm telling you, when I got to grade 12, I tend to realize actually these questions are the same. And it's difficult when you only study for grade 12. Why? Because you need that basic understanding from grade 10. Then, Moleboge, after realizing that this chapter called Analytical Geometry, you find it in this grade, and this grade. Then I went to functions. I checked from the table of contents using grade 10, 11, and 12 textbook. Then I realized even functions, they are in every grade. Then I started with grade 10, went to 11, then 12. I'm telling you, Bantu Bakiti, I applied this strategy for almost all the common chapters, and it worked. And I adopted the same strategy on physical sciences. And I can confirm to you now, you say, I also got distinctions in physical sciences simply because of understanding this. And it's going to be difficult for you to forget this information even when we move to a new chapter, because now you just know. It's now beyond understanding. You just know that when you are given something in this manner, these are the questions that are going to ask. And lastly, on that point, Moleboge, I'm sure you will now understand what I meant earlier this year when I was saying, for me, when I prepare for examinations, I don't write. I just look at a question paper similar to this one. I read that given statement, I look at this diagram. Then I go to question 1 and say, determine the coordinates of M, the midpoint of AB. Then I just talk to myself, for me to calculate the midpoint, I need two things, being that and that. Can you see? Already you know how to answer that question. You don't need to write it down because it's going to waste a lot of your time. So you now move on to the next question, 3.2. Determine the gradient of mn. You don't need to write anything. You talk to yourself. Let's see. Determine the gradient of mn. Where is m? There is mn. But from the statement, they said mn is parallel to that. Then you know you use these two things to calculate that gradient, which is equals to. You don't need to write anything. Hence or otherwise, determine the equation of line mn in that form. Line of mn. There is m, there is n. Do I have two things? Since analytical geometry is a game of two things. Let's see. I have calculated m. I have just calculated the gradient. So that means I can easily work it out. So can you see, Moleboge? Because we have done it now, when you prepare for exams, you don't need to rewrite this thing. You just need to know what to do. That's what I'm saying. During exams, you're not given time to think, but you are only given time to write because they assume you've been doing all of this throughout the year. So now 3.4, calculate with reasons the coordinates of point N. You need to know, I'm not sure if Lebandla la kaNkulunkulu understood what I've said there. Asa, did you understand all that I've explained and what honorable member of the opposition party has said? Did you all understand that, honorable member?
Yes, sir.
Leslie, was it loud and clear? Umi the Maumis, do you agree on that one, honorable member?
100%. Is really working on me side too.
Yes. Pell, does it make sense, honorable member? Wanamatlo, the Maakos, I see Yandiso is on the line. Voiswa, does it make sense, honorable member?
Yes.
Let's see. Moleboge, the last point that I forgot to mention is that I don't care whether your answer is correct or wrong. For the fact that, honorable member, you say something, it's very, very valuable because if you keep quiet and you don't give your input, I won't be able to expand on my explanation because with you saying something, and I always pray that you give me wrong answers because with you giving me wrong answers, I tend to realize where you get confused and what actually confuses you guys. Then on my next lessons, as I deliver a lesson, I also include that as part of possible confusions. So I think, Moleboge, you can take it from here and continue with that 3.4.
Okay. We are looking for n, and we looking at the diagram. We are now aware that our n is our meeting point of A and C.
Hey,
So
ANC again. I think yesterday we had ANC. We still have ANC today. You may continue, honorable member.
So looking for n, we can use the formula of midpoint. It's a game of two numbers or two coordinates. So we have the C and we have the A, and our n is our meeting point between our A and C. So it's going to be 1.5.
1.5 as the final answer, you say?
Yes, but let's go about it. Let's
Okay.
write it. So that,
Let's see.
yeah.
Weight x1 plus x2, y1 plus y2 over 2. So before we continue, honorable member, this question is allocated 4 marks. Okay, it's fine.
Sorry,
I think
sir.
I'll
I have a
add.
question.
Someone was saying something. Is it Voiswa? Have you got a question, honorable member? I couldn't hear you there.
Yes, I have a question. So I was going to ask, how certain are we that N is the midpoint of A and C? Like, how do we know that it's a midpoint?
A very good question. So the reason why I was saying this is allocated 4 marks, it's because I wanted to address that question. But in the meantime, Moleboge, let's continue for now, and then we'll get to Voiswa's question. So let's see. You are saying I'm sure everyone is familiar with this calculation. Maybe let me take over Moleboge and quickly get to that. So let's see.
It's 6 there.
6 negative 4 over 2. Let's say there it's what, negative 2, nay?
Yes.
Plus 3 over 2. And then now let's say what is, I think this is 2. 2 divided by 2 is 1. And then this is
Yes.
what? This is 1. And this is 2. So it's more like it's 1 over 2. Yes, you are 100% correct there, honorable member. But I think this is what happens. You are only going to get 3 marks, meaning this is incomplete. You remember, Mos, they said with a reason. So that reason is an answer to a Voiswa's question. So waze kanjani ukuthi N is the midpoint of those 2 points? This question is open to everyone. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's directed to a honorable member of the opposition party, but you can give it a try.
Remember, they had indicated to us that when we were looking for M, that it is the midpoint of B of B AB. M, it's the midpoint of AB. So it has not changed. It's the same thing. So if we have to look for the coordinates of N, they have already, we know that already M it's a meeting point, and M and N, to me, they are similar. That's how I thought it's only this side. Hence I used the midpoint formula.
Okay, that is a reason from her side. Let me not say it's wrong or correct for that. Can someone give the side of their story? Umi, go for it, honorable member.
Okay, you see, because N is even in that line for C and A.
Wait, let me. So, what are you saying there, Umi?
It's in the point for C and A.
It's in the point for C and A.
Yeah, because you already have the gradient, can you just use one of each point to look for the coordinate of it? Is it possible like that, or is it wrong?
Wait, Umi, where are we? Are you referring to... wait, we're still on this question, eh?
Yes.
What you've just said now, are you proposing a second possible way of answering this question?
Yes.
Okay, what did you say there, honorable member?
Because N is still in the middle for C and A.
Yes.
Okay, because you already have the gradient for N is 2, you already calculate. Can you use any coordinate for C and A to look for the for the point now?
The issue will be a wait, how are you going to calculate it, honorable member? Of course, you do have those 2 points. You can calculate the gradient of that line. But after you've calculated the gradient of that line, you are only going to have an equation of that line. So how are you going to use an equation of that line to calculate the coordinates of n?
I was just asking if you can use that one. I was just asking if you can use that one line. If it's possible, if you can use P and A.
Okay. Umidema Umis, let me expand on what you have just said. A very good point there. Moleboge, Voiso, I haven't forgotten about you, honorable members. This is C, this is A, this is M, this is N. I want you guys to notice something very much important. Do you guys agree that we just calculated the equation for that line, which is why it's equals to, it was 2x minus 3 over 2. So based on Umi's input in a form of a question, I can tell you now that from what Umi has said, I will be able to give you option B to answer that question. Vuiswa, let's say you don't know what the reason is to confirm for you that this is actually the midpoint of A and C. Let's assume you are not sure because they did not say. You are not sure because you don't have a reason. You can do it the long way. That's why, let's see. That's why this question is allocated 4 marks. I think 1 mark is for the reason. Do you guys agree that using point C and A or A and C, we can determine an equation of that line? Do you guys agree?
Yes.
100%. Let me just give an example. Let's say the gradient of AC, let's say maybe it's negative 1 over 2. And then maybe, let's say the C value for that line is there. Let's say it's 1. Let's say the C value of that line is 1. Can someone tell me what happens at that point where you are having that line intersecting or touching with that line? What's happening at that point, if you remember what we did on functions? What happens at a point where 2 lines either meet, cross, or touch? If you remember.
I'm not sure how to answer your question, but when I look at this, what I think of is we're gonna have to equate them because they're both touching that point.
100%. 100%. It doesn't matter whether you have a line and then another one doing that. What matters the most is that at a point where they touch, they are equal. It doesn't matter whether you have lines crossing. What matters the most is that at a point where they touch, they are equal. So that means where the two lines meet or intersect, that's where you are going to say this is your equation number 1, this is your equation number 2. Then you simultaneously solve for those two equations. Let's maybe try to work it out so that you know how it is done. So let's see, you are having y which is equals to 2x minus 3 over 2 as your equation number 1. Then this one being y, it's equals to negative 1 over 2x plus 1. You are having that as your equation number 2. So I wasn't guessing. If you had to determine the gradient of that line, you are going to get negative half. Then whether you use this point or that point to determine an equation of that line, you are going to get y, which is equals to negative half and then plus 1. So that is why I'm equating this line and that line in order to solve the x value of n. So can you see the maumis? That means you're going to say this, you equate it to that, because this is where you see y. Y is equals to that, y is equals to that. So Matapelo, this is simultaneous equation where you say the whole of this is equals to y. So that means you can equate this to that. So that means you're having, let's see, 2x, that which is equals to negative a half plus 1. Then this is where you ask yourself a question based on our very first lesson this year. I've explained to you that we have what we call a linear equation and a quadratic equation. Linear equation, that's where a letter is to the power of 1, but quadratic power of 2. So that means this is linear, meaning you always want to have letters on the left, numbers on the right. And because it's linear, you're going to have only one answer. So you take this to the other side. So it's more like you're having a 2x, it changes the sign, it becomes a half x. It's equals to that one. You take this to the other side, it changes a sign, it becomes that. So what is 2x plus a half? Is it not what is it? No, 2.5. It's going to be 5 over 2, because 5 over 2 is 2.5. This one, 1.5, no, 1 plus 1.5 is 2.5. Am I doing things correctly here? I think so. 1.5 is 2.5, so that means it's also 5 over 2. Guys, what is 1 plus 1.5? Is 2.5. Yes.
Yes, you are correct.
Okay. I'm sure here 2.5. Yes. So can you see? You want to divide both sides by that. Why did you divide by that? It's so that that cancels with that and you remain with x, which is equals, what is this over that? It's 1. So that means the x value of n, we already have it as 1. Then for you to calculate the y value, you take this 1, you substitute either on equation 1 or equation number 3. Whichever equation that you use, you're going to get the same answer. So let's see. Maybe let's substitute it there on the first equation. So this is what you're going to have. Is the same as 2 minus 1.5. What is 2 minus 1.5? 2 minus 1.5, it's half.
It's a half.
Yes, it's half. So that means the y value of n is also equals to a half. So that means the coordinates of n is actually 1.5, which is what Moleboge has done. But now, let's go back to the reasoning. Umidama Umis, I'm sure this is what you meant, honorable member, even though it was in a form of a question. But are you happy with that?
Yes, yes, this is the way I know. Yeah.
Okay, 100%. So, Vuiswa, can you see, in case if you were not sure or you didn't know the reason, can you see another method that you can use and still score 3 marks? I will just have to remove all of this.
Thank you.
I'll just have to remove all of this. Moleboge, I want you to understand why that reasoning is wrong. Let's try to do this. Everyone else, please make sure to listen very carefully. I'm going to have a discussion with Moleboge. Moleboge, let's talk, honorable member. So, can you see that we are having the midpoint there because they said this is equals to that? Can you see?
Yes.
So the reason why I'm saying you cannot base the reason on the fact that this line it's in the middle of A and B. Therefore, it means it's also in the middle of this and that. So what if you have that line doing that? Can you see the reason is no longer valid?
Yes.
Which
I
means
agree.
for this point to be in the middle there, it's not as a result of it being in the middle on that line. But what makes it to be in the middle? It's because it is parallel to this line. If it's parallel to this line, it forces this line to start from that middle and to also be in the middle for it to be parallel to that line. I'm not sure if it makes sense, honorable members.
No, it makes sense to say for it to be a midpoint, the AC is parallel to the NM. No, I understand the reasoning now.
Vuiswa, does it make sense now? And everyone, does it make sense?
Yes.
Because I was about to ask after you've done that other one to say the one that I've done, is it wrong? I was just about to ask it to say, is it wrong? But
You
I
mean
saw the other way.
Oh, no, I see. No, you've done it correctly. It's just that you were going to get only 3 marks. And if you provided that reason, it was going to be wrong based on the fact that it is not because this is in the middle of those. Therefore, that line automatically, it makes it to be in the middle of these
Okay.
2 points. Yes. I hope everyone else understands that. So just always remember, Bantu Bakiti, to say what makes it to land on the midpoint of those is because of the fact that they said is parallel to that. So I'm not sure. Are we ready to now move on to the next question? What makes us to be ready? That's if you haven't got any questions on that. I don't think there's anyone who's got a question. So for now, let me do this and say n has got the coordinates where we are having that as 1 and then we are having that as a half. Remember, guys, this coming Saturday, you will be writing a test on analytical geometry, and I'm advising all of you guys to participate in that test because it helps us to go through your answer sheet and be able to understand exactly where you are lacking an understanding. And I'm telling you now, I'm going to make it very, very difficult. Not that it will be a question coming from my head, but I always choose questions from previous exam questions, and I'm going to choose the difficult one. I want you guys to fail it big time. So Mzozo knows very well that whether it's difficult or not, you just write what you know. You write what you understand. If you completely don't write, I won't be able to help you because I won't be able to know what's confusing you or where you are getting it incorrectly. Whatever that comes to your mind, just write it. You know, umi the umis, I learned at a later stage that if my teacher sets a test which is out of 50, if I write this test, I got to a point where I wouldn't even get embarrassed when I get 3%. You know why the maumis?
Tell me.
The reason is this 3%, it means my teacher taught me 3% worth of information. It's never your fault. Not always, but it's never your fault to get 3%. If you came on earth with a blank mind, it is the responsibility of your teacher to make sure that they feed you with enough information. So this is what happens. I'll just use our lessons as an example, the Maumis. When we started with this chapter, I did mention to say, I'm going to tell you all that you need to know, all that you need to be aware of regarding this chapter. And now that I've done that, everything that we are doing when solving these questions is based on what I have told you guys. Meaning, there's nothing new that we are doing that I haven't made you aware of. So now that you are aware of all that you need to know, it is now your responsibility to make sure that you practice as many questions as possible. Why do you need to do that, Mzozozo? It's because the main aim is to try and look for that question which I did not cover in my lessons. If you come across that question and you find it difficult, that's when you can consult with me to say, we have done this chapter, I've catched up or I've attended all the lessons, but here is a question. It came differently. I don't think we've covered it. How do we work it out? Then that's when I'm able to confidently assist you and add it to my notes so that next time I'm going to include it as part of all that you need to know, all that you need to be aware of. That's how you learn. We have done all of this. It doesn't mean because we have done all of this, then you know or you understand. I'm telling you, you need to practice some more. It is still fine if you do exactly what we did. I'm telling you, if you do it for the second time and do it for the third time, you are going to start seeing some things there. Maybe let me use this as an example. When a traditional healer throws their bones, you are just seeing bones there in a random rearrangement. But a traditional healer is seeing beyond what you are seeing. Maybe let me now be practical. If you remember, there was an honorable member who asked a question to say, what happened from this formula? We have the gradient as 1, and we substituted it, and we ended up having something similar to that. Let's say C was 2. And the honorable member was saying, what happened to M? Where is M? And M was equals to 1. And this is what I said to the honorable member. I'm sure some of you guys remember. I said, those who started with me, they are not only seeing X there. They see an invisible positive. They see an invisible 1. They see the X that you are seeing. They are also seeing a power of invisible positive 1. So can you see? This is what a traditional healer sees. And this is what you are seeing. So that's what I meant when I was saying redo these things many times. I'm telling you, if you spend 2 to 3 days only focusing on this chapter, even after 10 months, you'll still be knowing what to do when a question comes. That's how you master these questions. So I think all that I've explained, it does make sense to everyone. I even forgot what made me to talk about all of this. I don't even know. The Maumis. What made me to talk about all of this? Now I don't know.
Just part of the advice.
Hey, let's just say part of the advice, the Maumis, because you know when you pray the Maumis and you pray and you pray and you pray, you pray and you pray, you pray, you pray, you end up not knowing, no, but you'll always know why you are praying. That was almost a bad example. But anyway, let's see. The last question says, if A, B, C, and D in that order is a parallelogram, determine the coordinates of D. So can you see now? A new party has just been formed and is being introduced to the parliament. So this is what they're saying. If A, B, C, D in that order is a parallelogram. So can you see? If you don't know what a parallelogram is, then you are in trouble. They say A, B, C, D in that order. If it's a parallelogram, determine the coordinates of D. So that means a parallelogram, it's a shape of that nature, which means D has to be somewhere, somewhere. Has to be somewhere, somewhere. Somewhere, somewhere there to form that rectangle. And you do know very well that a parallelogram means this side will be parallel and also equal to that side. Then this side will be parallel and also equals to that side. That is why I'm estimating that point to be somewhere there. Why? Because this line has to be parallel to that line. And at the same time, that line has to be parallel to that one. So it might not be an accurate point, but you just need to have that understanding. So that means this is the new party that has been introduced to Parliament. I'm not sure if there's an honorable member of the opposition party who would like to address the new member in terms of the rules of the Parliament. Anyone who would like to rise on a point of order and address the new party, determine the coordinates of point D. I'm telling you, 4 marks is what you will be given. And this is our last question for today. Hey, Matapelo, wena o ka re o lebeletse the river wena. Wena o ka re o lebeletse the river. Matapelo. Mzazuzo, I think Matapelo is watching the river there. Why I'm not able to hear Matapelo? Leslie, are you still thinking? Oh, okay. No, Matapelo is there. Bosisiwe Nxobo. Pearl, you haven't said anything, honorable member. Do you not want to rise on a point of order?
Mulebogo on the line.
I know very well that Moleboge will get this one right, because I think you are doing it for the third time now. Okay, Moleboge, go for it, honorable member. I just pray that you get it wrong. Let's see.
We need 2 points. So our AD, because it's parallel, meaning they told us that it's parallel, so it means our BC and our AD will be our M, it will be equals to 2, or I should just give you points. That's what you are saying.
So in this case, you will need to show by means of calculation in order to score all the 4 marks. So what you can do is just to explain the approach in terms of how you would possibly work out that one.
Because my approach would be, I would take because they are we are dealing with a parallelogram, so it means my DC is parallel to my AD, so it means our gradient is the same, isn't it? So if my gradient of AC it's 2, so my gradient of DC will be will be 2. So and then I'll have point, which is my point there, which is A, and then I'll substitute it to get my D.
Okay, let's work it out so that someone will also notice something. And I think now I remember why I'm going to say this. So, can you see, Moleboge, sometimes it does help when you practice on your own, because you come across this type of a question and you give it a try and you will realize something. Let's quickly work it out. You're saying y is equals to mx plus c, and then because this line is parallel to that, that means you're still having the gradient of 2 plus c. And then you're saying at point A, having 6 and negative 2. Then, as you substitute, you will realize something, that actually what you are doing is to determine an equation of that line, not really the coordinates of D. I'm not sure if you're already realizing that, honorable member. I think I need a different marker there. Obviously, X is 6 there. Heba. Why is it like you guys are stealing my markers? Oh, there. Let's see.
Yes.
This is 12 plus that. You take it to the other side, it's negative 14, which is... So, can you see, Moleboge? You can see, you've just determined an equation of line AD and not necessarily the coordinates of D. Can you see? So, these are some of the things that you can only realize when you practice. Imagine if you were in exam, honorable members, and you try to work it out and it takes you to that, then that's where the panic starts. That's where the panic starts, because you get something which is not what you expected. And this is where, or these are the situations where you tend to lose much of your time. So that is why I was saying make sure that you practice enough so that you make as many mistakes during this time,
So
so that you know in exam, yes, Vuiso.
I was going to ask, why is it that you estimated that point D would be on this side and not the other side?
Okay, a very good question there. Okay, let's try to make an estimation voice. If you already have that line and you already have that line, a parallelogram has to have those four sides, whereby this side has to be parallel to that, this has to be parallel to that, and also this one has to be equals to that, this has to be equals to that. So can you see, if you estimate a point somewhere there, that means you will need to then connect those. It doesn't form a parallelogram. If you estimate a point there, you will have to connect those. Doesn't form a parallelogram. That is why I look to say maybe if you have that, you will need to have a point more or less, you can say somewhere there. Why? Because you want it to be parallel to that line, and also this one, when you connect it, it has to be parallel to that line. Therefore, D, it's averagely somewhere there. Does it make sense, Voiso?
Yes.
So, Moleboge, if you can try and remember what we discussed yesterday, I think this is going to serve as a proof. Everyone, please listen very carefully. This is what I'm about to say. What I'm saying now, Moleboge knows, and she knows very well. It's not only her, but everyone who attended yesterday's lesson. They do know very well that when you have a parallelogram similar to that, this line where you connect this and that, it shares the same midpoint as that line. I can tell you now, Moleboge knows this one very well. Moleboge, unmute your mic and say yes.
Very true. Very true. I know that one.
I
Very
know,
true.
Bantu Bakiti. So that's why I'm saying, you know everything. It's just a matter of you guys applying what you know, and you can only apply what you know if you have practiced enough. But if you don't practice, you won't realize that you actually had all the resources. So now, Moleboge, this is how you apply what you know. If you have B having the coordinates, why can't you find the midpoint and use the midpoint formula again to get the coordinates of a D? I'm not sure if you guys understand what I'm saying. Why not use this and that to calculate that point?
Yeah,
But
you know what? I get
does
you
it
now.
make sense?
I get you. Yes, it does.
But
Because
does it
we'll have
make
two
sense to
points.
everyone? Hmm? This one I know. There's no way you won't understand it, Moleboge. I'm just concerned about honorable members of the opposition party. Do you guys understand that?
Yes, sir.
Yes. So you calculate the midpoint of that point, because we say these are diagonal lines, meaning they share the midpoint. Maybe let's quickly work out the midpoint. What is the midpoint? Anyone who has calculated it? Let's see. This plus that is 2 divided by 2 is 1. This plus that, hey, we already have the midpoint, which is half. I just realized now when I calculate. We already have that midpoint, Mos. Do you guys still remember? We already have that midpoint. This line and that line are diagonal lines, which means you straight away just plug using the midpoint formula. You won't need to recalculate the midpoint of that. So this is where you say the x value of the midpoint, which is n, it's equals to x1 plus x2. You divide it by 2. You know x value of the midpoint is 1. It's equals to what is x1? X1 you can regard it as 2, and then you say plus x2, which is x4d over 2. Then you solve for x4d. That times that, it's equals to what? It's equals to 2. You take this to the other side. It's more like you're saying 2 minus 2 is 0. So it's more like x of d. It's actually equals to 0. And there you are having 0. Then you do the same to calculate the y value. I'm not sure if there's anyone who has calculated the y value. What are you getting as your y value? You are having half there. Y1, you can regard that as 15 plus y at d over 2. That by that, it already gives you 1. So 1 minus 15 is negative 14, which is equals to y at d. So that means y at d is negative 14. And it does make sense. So can you see, voice? So my estimation was almost correct. It's actually there on that line of the y-axis. It's actually at that point there, where x is negative 14. I'm not sure if it makes sense to everyone before I close the lesson for today. Does everyone understand what we have done there? Ungasabi ubuza mase ungazwisisi bantu bakithi. But most importantly, if it feels like you are completely lost, don't worry that much. You will need to catch up. I'm telling you, you are going to understand it better after a catch up. And then if it still doesn't make sense, then on our next lesson, that's when we're going to then re-explain it again. But for now, did you get the concept, Bantu Bakiti?
Yes, sir.
2 more to confirm.
Yeah.
Last one.
Yes, sir.
100%. So, the code for today's lesson, you are just going to give any coordinates that you can remember in today's lesson. You can either give the coordinates of A, of that, or that, or that. Whatever coordinates, you can comment D, you do bracket. If you have one, you can just say 1, either comma or semicolon, and then you have negative 14 there. I'm just trying to make it difficult so that not everyone who did not attend will be able to crack that code. Most importantly, announcement is that you guys will be writing a test tomorrow. I'm not sure if you guys are aware. I'm talking to grade 11s. Grade 11s, you'll be writing a physics test tomorrow. Are you aware, Matapel, and everyone else in grade 11? Are you guys aware?
Sir, can I ask
test?
something? Can I ask something quickly about something that I've asked you, that I've said before?
Mm-hmm.
You remember when I said I just wanted to verify something, because I see you, I see our y on when we are looking at d being equivalent to negative 14. So if I was using that, if I took this to my y cut of the of a straight line, would it not give me, would it not give me 14, the y cut?
The y cut off?
I'm saying, you remember I said, because I said to you, the
gradient are
a
equal.
the gradients are equal. Then you put it on a straight
You had
line.
y,
I get that.
it's equals
Yes.
to 2x plus c.
And then we take the 6, which is our x value, we multiply with the x, we take the negative 2, we put it here, we put it on our y. Then
Let's say negative
yes,
2 equals to
yes,
then okay, let's say 6 there plus c. Then this is what? This is 12. You take it to the other side, it gives you negative 14. Yes, you are correct. You get your c as negative 14. Let's continue from there.
yes. No, I just wanted to see because that's what I was saying to you initially when I said we can use the m. So I just wanted to see the answer. So no, it's fine.
Yes, no, you are 100% correct. You were going to get an equation of that straight line. The thing with this one, I'm sure you now realize that even if, let's say, you got that equation, 2x minus 14, can you see? It was going to be difficult to get the x value. I'm not sure if you realize, because at this point you are not yet sure whether that point lies on the y-axis. So you were going to be limited in a sense that you don't know whether that point lies inside a quadrant or on that y-axis. I'm not sure if you get me on that one, Mulebo.
No, I get you. I hear you.
Yes. So at least we had another way of confirming if that d it's indeed negative 14, and it's based on the fact that we know that this is 0. So already if this is 0, we know it lies on the y-axis. Then it means you can use this, or if you determined an equation of that line, you can still substitute it here. You're going to have 2 into that 0 minus 14, and it gives you negative 14, which goes there. So before I wrap up, I was saying grade 11s tomorrow on your physics lesson, actually at 18 o'clock, that's when you'll be writing your test. So I'm not sure. Any last question before I sign out, Bantu Bakiti? Or did you all understand what was explained in today's lesson?
Yes.
Luyanda, do you allow me to sign out, honorable member?
Yes, sir.
Okay, guys, thanks very much for joining. My name is Desmond. You guys have a very good night, and I'm out.
Bye.
Bye.